Hi, it's been a while since I've posted a video. Excuse the miller, it's in the background so it might be a bit noisy. The redesign of the steering arm. Originally we were doing a kind of a two-plate design, nice and simple, two flat plates, ball joint there, steering arm here. Didn't work out. This unfortunately fouled too much on the wheel. So to keep the steering arm length by the ratio of how much the rack moves to how much the wheel moves, I don't want to shorten it anymore, I don't want to speed the rack up any more than it already is. So basically I've had to move that further down so that it sits inside the arc of the wheel. So simple design went to the floor. I had some offcuts from the main plate, and we've done a solid billet plate. So it still has the top ball joint here, but now the steering arm bolts through the cap head underneath here, and then we'll have a minor bracket just to put it in double shear to back to the optional brake pedal mounting. So second steering arm's on the mill at the moment. Chassis, we've started making the suspension pickup points. These are some just spares I have from another chassis build. I'm basically cutting these back to mount there. Obviously we need to mount the rod end in space, so it makes it easy to make the brackets. So we basically drilled the mill is finished, that's going to be quieter. So I marked out the base exactly where this pointed space is. We drilled through from underneath, put a bolt into this. This is threaded at both ends. Thread the rod end in, that makes it a nice solid point, and I can make those two brackets up. And it's about to do the same for the top wishbone point. It's going to be here. The rear wishbone for the top arm will be close to this. This one here is going to be quite far out, so there's going to be some dressing of brackets. The lower wishbone, that's the front point. The rear point is actually going to be inside the cabin, so that's going to be another bracket. It's going to be fun to make. Final position of the steering rack. Let me just turn the coolant off on this miller. Click, click. Final development of the rack as we went back to the center steer, the offset steer. So basically where the input to the rack is the shaft's at an angle. I couldn't get one that was at 90, which would have been lovely to go into here. All of them were sitting at an angle, which is kind of a shame. Couldn't get quite what I wanted, so basically we've put the back to center steer. So the steering rack input is here. I've lifted it up. So basically we'll have a double joint here that'll come round, maybe a rose joint support, and then it'll go straight into the power assisted column there. Had to dice this tube out, got in the way, and raise this up to make sure that it misses. But we'll gusset all four corners there, so we've still got the strength of that tube being in there. Just the steering column with the way it's just tacked on at the moment, and I'm going to make a bracket to go to this plate. This steel plate here actually detaches from this, but I want to make it detachable by two screws there, and underneath 1, 2 there. So basically the whole thing will just drop down and come out. Makes it easy just to get it out. If you wanted to replace this, maybe say with the steering wheel on the dashboard, then you should be able to drop 4 bolts out and just drop it down. So with the steering rack, everything sorted, wishbone point sorted here. I've started on the front. We have the front motor plate done. I haven't finished the last 2 beams on the bulkhead until that plate's in its exact right position, so I can't do that until that's finished. I can't really do the front until the bell housing's finished. The billet there, which will be the bell housing, I'm waiting for Tilton to finish production on a production run of a cover plate that I want, and then we'll have a Tilton flywheel. Have to have the right flywheel because that is the crank trigger, which is coming off a separate set of teeth just behind the ring gear on the flywheel. So has the Tilton 7 1/4 bespoke flywheel and Tilton clutch, twin plate cerametallic with a long throw pedal. So it should be a nice feel, but it's still going to be a metallic clutch, so it's still going to bite and want to go. It's not going to be a huge amount of slip, but that is like $3,500 cheaper than going carbon. So that's the price you pay, I suppose. Extension housing, obviously the billet plate to adapt both halves of the chassis together and bolt to the gearbox or bolt the solid. Rear mounting point for the wishbone, so that's the lower wishbone at the rear. They're both done now, so you can see it better here. I've written both on. So one half of the lower wishbone will be bolted to that, the other one will be to there. This is simple. That's the top mounting point. The top wishbone mounting point that's in space here will be basically triangulated between there, there, and there with steel, and we'll just go into tubing. And then basically this face here, the bolts there and there, there'll be a plate that'll come out to the back that the rear wing will be mounted from. Another piece of billet will be attached onto the top of there, and the gearbox basically ties them in together, but also the shock absorber will mount directly to that. And there'll be another small plate here that's going to tie. We've got 3 positions on the gearbox that basically will tie into the rear bulkhead. One's here, that'll have 2 tubes coming off it, one to there, one to there. Then another tube here that will go up on a higher, but what I'm going to do is connect this tube up to another one, weld the secondary tube that'll come down to as far back to the gearbox as I can, basically to try and take any of the vertical plane load out of the motor. There's still going to be some, but just minimize it as much as I can. So back really waiting on that clutch. 20th of February was the date I was told that it should be finished production. Day or 2 to just assemble the bits and pieces and post it, so hopefully the end of the February, and I should be ready to finalize drawing that, put that into the CAD simulation, and then put the other bits and pieces in, and then finalize that, and then get it on the miller, get that made. And then obviously the input shaft is a bit short at the moment, you can see it's here. We'll then give the new input shaft position, spline diameter, and spline type to Elite, and then we'll make a new input shaft for us. So that's kind of waiting on that. Having get the steering column in, we are using the original wiring loom, so therefore we are actually using the original GT3 dash and gauge unit, including the original GT3 starter. Now, to get that in, unfortunately, this tube was getting in the way. I did actually knock the back of the actual unit out. It does have quite a large void in this corner. I'll skim that now with a piece of plastic and then just glue it in. But unfortunately, it still wasn't going to be enough. It was still going to get too far into the electronics board, and I wasn't going to notch that out. So to have this sat in the right position above it, going to have to move these 2 tubes. Now you see this one here originally mounted right into the corner. So what I'm going to do, I've chopped it out of that side. Just bring it, there's enough room in the body. I can bring this tube about 1.25 inches further this way. So basically, instead of mounting on this face, the tube will be slightly mounted on that face, but the majority will be notched and will probably go up to there. All that just to get the dash in, but custom wants the dash, and I can see why. It'd be nice. It's a nice thing to have the GT3 dash. So this tube will come out as well. I need to get 1.25 inch tube. I haven't got any at the moment, and getting a short length of seamless is a bit awkward around here. Not many people stock it, and you have to buy a whole length. And it just seems a waste to buy a whole length of 1.25 inch just for 2 pieces about 1 foot long. But we'll see whether we can afford them. Find somebody that's got some. But yeah, now the front end should be taking more shape. I had a lot of time to getting on to do the machining work. There's been a lot of billet work going on, so now we can get back to the good stuff. Start putting suspension on this corner, and I'll flip over to the other side hopefully before my next shift rotation at work. So, but yeah, most of the design now is done at the front, steering, suspension, etc., etc. So I know all the clearances go. I know I've got all the correct swings for the rod bends, because obviously the last thing you want to do with the rod end is put it on the same form of bending moment. So you need to know that you've got the full amount of travel without putting the actual rod thread in any kind of a bend. So you need to have precise clearances and everything, which I have done now. All the simulations done. So yes, we'll get on putting suspension. Hopefully, I don't know, hopefully this 6 weeks maybe we can probably have it rolling on the floor with its wheels and tyres, and hopefully with the steering rack as well. So sent the dimensions off the Unisteer and their bespoke route calculator. So they should be making that up hopefully next month and sending it back to me. Then we can have the car chassis and stuff on the floor. We'll roll it around the floor just for the hell of it. But it'll have to go back on the jig really to carry on with the bodywork. Anyway, there we go. Speak to you all soon.